Captain Jake Morrison stared at the green blinking light on his command console. The signal had been repeating for 3 hours now, calling out across the dark void of space. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the data again. The message was coming from Research Station Omega-7, a facility that should have been abandoned months ago. "Lisa, take a look at this," Jake called to his science officer. Dr. Lisa Parker moved away from her workstation and walked over to Jake's chair. She was a smart woman in her 30s with short brown hair and quick green eyes. Lisa had joined the crew 6 months ago, and Jake trusted her judgment on difficult matters. "What do you have, Captain?" she asked, leaning over his shoulder to read the screen. "Distress signal from Omega-7. The transmission is weak but clear. Someone is asking for help." Lisa frowned as she read the message details. That station was closed down 8 months ago. All research was moved to the main facility on Mars. There should not be anyone there. Commander Tom Bradley walked onto the bridge at that moment. He was a big man with gray hair and serious brown eyes. Tom handled all security matters for their ship, the Frontier. He had 20 years of military experience and rarely smiled. "Captain, we are receiving an emergency broadcast," Tom said in his deep voice. "We know, Tom. We are looking at it now," Jake replied. "What do you think we should do?" Tom looked at the screen and his face grew dark. Omega-7 was a classified research station. If someone is there now, it could be pirates or worse. We should call for backup before we investigate. Jake considered this carefully. The Frontier was an exploration ship, not a military vessel. They had basic weapons and shields, but nothing that could handle a serious fight. However, the nearest military ship was 3 days away. If people were truly in danger, 3 days might be too long. "Emma, how long to reach Omega-7? Jake asked his pilot. Emma Davis was the youngest member of the crew at 24 years old. She had blonde hair and blue eyes that always seemed excited about their next adventure. Emma could fly anything with engines and had gotten them out of trouble more than once. 6 hours at maximum speed, Captain," Emma answered quickly. "The station is in the outer rim of the Vega system, near the asteroid field." Jake made his decision. "Set course for Omega-7. Tom, prepare the security team. Lisa, I want you to research everything you can find about that station. Something does not feel right about this." The next 6 hours passed slowly. Lisa worked at her computer, trying to find information about the research station. Most of the files were classified, but she managed to learn a few important facts. Omega-7 had been studying alien life forms collected from various planets. The research focused on biology and behavior patterns of dangerous species. "Captain," Lisa said as they approached the station, "I found something interesting. The last reports from Omega-7 mentioned they had captured several live specimens for study. The files are mostly blocked, but I can see they were working with at least one large predator species." Tom checked his weapons and looked worried. "What kind of predator?" "The files do not say much, only that it was highly intelligent and extremely dangerous. The research team was studying its hunting patterns and survival instincts." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "When did the station go quiet?" 7 months ago. All communication stopped suddenly. The official report said it was a planned shutdown. But now I am not sure." The Frontier slowly approached Research Station Omega-7. The station was large, with several connected modules floating in space. It looked dark and empty. No lights showed in the windows, and no ships were docked at the landing bay. "Emma, take us to the docking port. Tom, get your team ready, full protective gear," Jake ordered. "Captain, I'm reading some life support systems still active," Emma reported. "Air and gravity are working in most sections, but I'm not detecting any life signs." "That is strange," Lisa said. "If someone sent the distress signal, where are they now?" Jake suited up with the security team. Besides Tom, there were 3 other security officers. Mike Walsh, a steady man with red hair, Sarah Chen, a tough woman who rarely spoke, and David Kim, a young officer on his first deep space mission. The team entered the station through the main airlock. Emergency lighting cast red shadows on the walls, making everything look like a scene from a nightmare. The air was cold and smelled metallic. "Spread out and search each section." Tom whispered into his radio. Stay in contact at all times. Jake and Lisa moved toward the main research lab while Tom took his team to check the living quarters. The station felt dead, but Jake could not shake the feeling that something was watching them. The research lab was a mess. Tables were overturned, computers were smashed, and broken glass covered the floor. Dark stains that looked like blood were splattered on the walls and ceiling, but strangest of all, there were no bodies anywhere. Lisa, look at this, Jake said, pointing to deep scratches in the metal wall. What could make marks like these? Lisa examined the scratches carefully. They were too large to be made by human hands. The marks were deep and showed incredible strength. These look like claw marks, Captain. Something with very sharp claws and powerful muscles made these. They moved deeper into the station, finding more signs of violence in every room. Equipment was destroyed, furniture was scattered, and those dark stains appeared everywhere. But still no bodies. Captain, Tom's voice crackled through the radio. You need to see something in Section C. Jake and Lisa hurried to meet Tom in the station's containment area. This section had been designed to hold dangerous specimens for study. Most of the containment cells were empty and undamaged, but one large cell at the end of the hallway was different. The reinforced door had been torn apart from the inside. Metal that should have been impossible to break was twisted and bent like paper. Inside the cell, they found scratch marks on every surface and what looked like a large nest made from torn bedding and stolen equipment. Whatever was in here got out, Tom said grimly. And it was big. Lisa found a damaged computer terminal near the cell and managed to get it working. Captain, I found some security footage. You should see this. The video was dark and grainy, but it showed enough to make Jake's blood run cold. A huge shadow moved through the station's hallways. It was too fast and too smart to be a simple animal. The creature seemed to know exactly where it was going and how to avoid the security cameras. How long ago was this recorded? Jake asked. The timestamp shows 7 months ago, right before the station went quiet. Jake realized what had happened. The research team had captured something they could not control. The creature had escaped and hunted down everyone on the station. But where were the bodies? And more importantly, where was the creature now? A loud crash echoed through the station, followed by the sound of metal scraping against metal. The lights flickered and went out for a moment before the emergency power kicked in. That came from Section D, Tom said, raising his weapon. Jake looked at his team. They were all scared, but they were professionals. They had a job to do. Stay together. Watch each other's backs. And remember, we still do not know if there are survivors who need our help. As they moved toward the sound, Jake could not shake the feeling that something was hunting them now. Something that had been waiting in the dark for 7 months and now had fresh prey. The hunt was about to begin. The team moved slowly through the dark corridors of Section D. Their flashlight beams cut through the shadows, but the emergency lighting made everything look red and dangerous. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears as they approached, the source of the crashing sound. There, Tom whispered, pointing ahead. Something moved near that doorway. They all stopped and raised their weapons. The corridor was silent now, but Jake felt like invisible eyes were watching them from every shadow. The air was thick with tension, and he could smell fear coming from his team. Mike Walsh stepped forward to check the damaged doorway. He was a good security officer, careful and brave. As he moved his flashlight around the entrance, something fast and dark dropped from the ceiling above him. The creature landed on Mike with terrible force, driving him to the ground. In the brief moment before Mike's screams filled the air, Jake saw the beast clearly for the first time. It stood nearly 8 feet tall when it rose up on its back legs. Its skin looked like black armor made of overlapping plates that moved like liquid metal. 6 eyes glowed with yellow light, arranged in 2 rows across a head that was too long and too sharp. Its arms ended in hands with claws longer than kitchen knives. But what scared Jake the most was the intelligence he saw in those glowing eyes. This was not a mindless animal. This thing was thinking, planning, hunting with purpose. Mike's scream stopped suddenly. The creature looked up at the rest of the team with what Jake could only describe as curiosity. Then it moved faster than anything that large should be able to move. It climbed up the wall and disappeared into a ventilation shaft before anyone could fire a shot. Tom knelt beside Mike, but it was too late. The security officer was dead, killed by claws that had opened his throat in one swift motion. Tom's face was hard with anger as he stood up. "What was that thing?" David Kim asked. His voice shook with fear. "Death with claws," Tom answered grimly. "Stay close together. Watch the ceiling and the walls. This creature can move anywhere in the station." They continued their search, but now they knew they were being hunted. The creature seemed to enjoy playing with them. They would hear sounds from one direction, but when they investigated, nothing would be there. Scratch marks appeared on walls. They had just passed, still warm from fresh claws. Lisa worked on her portable computer as they moved. "Captain, I managed to access more security files. This creature was captured 6 months before the station went dark." The research team called. "Subject X9. What else do the files say?" Jake asked, keeping his eyes on the shadows around them. "It came from a planet called Kalara Prime in the outer systems. The research notes say it is an apex predator, which means it sits at the top of its food chain. Nothing hunts these creatures, except other members of their own species." Sarah Chen had been quiet until now, but she spoke up. "How did they capture something like this?" "The files do not say exactly, but there are notes about using heavy tranquilizers and military-grade containment equipment. It took a full squad of soldiers to bring one specimen back alive." Jake felt sick thinking about it. Humans had gone to another world, captured an intelligent creature, and brought it here for experiments. No wonder it was angry. They entered the station's main laboratory, where most of the research had been conducted. The room was larger than the others, with high ceilings and multiple levels connected by metal walkways. Equipment was scattered everywhere, and more of those dark. Bloodstains covered the walls. "Look at this," Lisa called from a damaged computer terminal. "I found video recordings from the research sessions. The video showed the creature trapped in a clear containment chamber. Scientists in protective suits were testing its reactions to different stimuli. Electric shocks, loud noises, bright lights, extreme temperatures. The creature endured all of it with what looked like controlled rage." "They were torturing it," David said quietly. "No wonder it killed them all." Jake watched the creature's eyes. In the video, even through its pain, he could see intelligence and something else. Hate. This creature had learned to hate humans through months of cruel treatment. A loud clang echoed through the laboratory, then another. Something was moving on the metal walkways above them, but they could not see what it was in the darkness. "Spread out," Tom ordered. "Do not give it a chance to corner us all together." That was a mistake. As soon as the team separated, the creature struck again. Sarah Chen was checking a computer station near the far wall when the beast dropped silently behind her. She turned just in time to see those glowing yellow eyes before the claws found her. This time, Jake got a better look at how the creature moved. It was not just fast and strong, it was smart. It had waited for them to split up, then chosen the team member who was furthest from help. After killing Sarah, it disappeared again before anyone could react. "This is not working," Jake said. "We need a new plan." Tom was angry and frustrated. "That thing is picking us off one at a time. We should get back to the ship and call for military backup." "What about the distress signal?" Emma asked. "Someone might still be alive on this station." Lisa looked up from her computer. "Captain, I found something strange in the research files. The creature's behavior patterns show it has an excellent memory. It remembers faces, voices, and specific individuals who treated it badly. So it is hunting for revenge," Jake said. "Not just revenge. The files show it can tell the difference between people who hurt it and people who helped it. Some of the research staff tried to treat it better, giving it food and medical care. The creature never attacked those people." Jake thought about this information. If the creature could remember kindness, maybe there was hope for communication. But first they had to survive long enough to try. A new sound filled the laboratory. Not the crash of metal or the scrape of claws. This sound was worse. It was the creature's voice coming from somewhere in the darkness above them. The sound was part growl and part something else. something that might have been words in a language no human had ever heard. But the meaning was clear in any language. The creature was calling to them. It wanted them to know it was coming. Jake looked at his remaining team members. Emma was trying to stay brave, but her hands shook as she held her weapon. David looked ready to run. Tom was preparing for a fight he probably could not win. Lisa, how many people were on this station when it went dark? Jake asked. 47 researchers and security personnel, she answered. And this creature killed them all? The files suggest it took 3 days to hunt down everyone on the station. It was methodical, patient, and thorough. Jake realized they were facing something far more dangerous than a wild animal. This creature was a perfect hunter with a brilliant mind and a score to settle with humanity. The hunt had only just begun, and they were the prey. Jake led his remaining team back toward the main computer center. They needed answers, and fast. 2 of his people were dead, and the creature was somewhere in the darkness planning its next attack. Lisa, can you access the main research database? From here? Jake asked as they entered the computer room. Give me a few minutes, Lisa replied, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Most of the files are encrypted, but I think I can break through the security. Tom positioned himself by the door while Emma watched the ventilation shafts above them. David stayed close to Lisa, his weapon ready. Everyone knew the creature could appear at any moment. Captain, I am getting something, Lisa said. The main research files are opening up. Images filled the computer screen, photos of the creature in its containment cell, charts showing its physical measurements, and video recordings of various experiments. Jake felt sick as he watched scientists prod and test the intelligent being like it was just another lab animal. Look, at this? Lisa pointed to a date stamp on one of the files. The creature was brought here 3 years ago, not 6 months like I thought earlier. It has been trapped on this station for 3 full years. Jake stared at the screen. 3 years of imprisonment and torture would drive any intelligent being to madness and rage. But something else bothered him about the date. 3 years ago, he had been on a different mission. Where did they capture it? Jake asked. Lisa scrolled through more files. Kalara Prime, in the Outer Rim. It says here that a human exploration team found the creature injured near a crashed alien ship. The military decided it was too valuable for scientific study to leave behind. Jake felt a cold knot forming in his stomach. Kalara Prime. He knew that planet. He had been there 3 years ago as a junior officer on the exploration ship Pioneer. The mission was supposed to be peaceful contact with alien life, but something had gone wrong. Captain, are you all right? Emma asked. You look pale. Jake tried to remember the details of that mission. They had found an alien ship crashed in the mountains. Inside was a single survivor, badly hurt and dying. The creature had been scared and alone, but Jake remembered something else. Something important. Lisa, show me more pictures of this creature, Jake said urgently. As the images flashed on the screen, Jake's memory became clearer. He remembered a night 3 years ago when he had disobeyed orders. The creature had been locked in, a cage, wounded and starving. Against regulations, Jake had brought it food and water. He had even tried to treat its injuries with the medical supplies he could find. The creature had looked at him with those same glowing yellow eyes, but back then they had held gratitude instead of hate. Jake remembered how it had made soft sounds. That might have been its way of saying thank you. It was me, Jake whispered. I was there when they captured it. Tom turned from his position at the door. What are you talking about, Captain? 3 years ago, I was on Kalara Prime with the Pioneer crew. We found this creature injured and dying. I tried to help it, but the military command ordered us to capture it for research. Jake's voice was filled with regret. I tried to argue against it, but I was just a junior officer. Nobody listened to me. Lisa looked at him with surprise. You knew about this creature before we came here? I knew about one injured alien that I tried to help. I did not know what they did to it afterward. I filed a report saying we should return it to its home planet, but the report was classified and ignored. David had been listening quietly, but now he spoke up. Captain, if you helped this creature before, Maybe it will remember you. Maybe it will not try to kill you like it killed the others. Jake thought about this possibility. The research files had shown that the creature had an excellent memory. It could tell the difference between people who hurt it and people who helped it. But 3 years was a long time, and the creature had endured terrible treatment since then. Need to see more of these research files, Jake said. I want to know exactly what they did to it. Lisa continued working on the computer. What she found made everyone angry. The files showed months of painful experiments. Scientists had tested the creature's strength by making it lift heavy weights until it collapsed. They had shocked it with electricity to study its nervous system. They had kept it awake for days to see how long it could survive without sleep. Worst of all, they had tried to break its mind. Researchers had used loud noises, bright lights, and isolation to make the creature easier to control. They wanted to turn it into a weapon that would obey human commands. This is horrible, Emma said, reading over Lisa's shoulder. How could people do this to an intelligent being? Because they saw it as a thing, not a person, Jake replied bitterly. The military wanted a new kind of weapon, and they did not care what they had to do to get it. Tom was studying tactical diagrams on another screen. Captain, these files show the creature's full capabilities. It is stronger than 10 humans, faster than anything its size should be, and smart enough to use tools and plan complex strategies. If it wants us dead, we do not have much chance of surviving. Jake looked at more pictures from the early days of the creature's captivity. In the first photos, its eyes still held intelligence and hope. But as the months passed, those eyes became harder and colder. The scientists had slowly turned a proud, intelligent being into a hate-filled killer. Wait, Lisa said, pointing to a specific file. Look at this behavioral study. The creature shows different reactions to different people. It attacked the lead researcher, Dr. Harrison, immediately, but it was gentler with the medical staff who treated its injuries. Jake studied the data carefully. The creature had indeed remembered who helped it and who hurt it, even after months of imprisonment. But there was something else in the files that caught his attention. Lisa, check the personnel records. Who was in charge of this project? Lisa typed rapidly and pulled up the staff directory. Jake's heart sank as he read the names. Commander, Tom Bradley was listed as the military security overseer for Project X9. Jake turned to look at Tom, who had gone very quiet. Their eyes met, and Jake saw the truth in his old friend's expression. You knew, Jake said quietly. You knew what this place was when we came here. Tom's hand moved to his weapon, but he did not draw it. Jake, I can explain. You were in charge of the project that tortured this creature for 3 years. You turned it into a killer, and now it wants revenge. Emma and David looked confused and frightened. They had trusted Tom to protect them, and now they learned he was connected to the horror they had discovered. The creature did not send that distress signal by accident, Jake realized. It lured us here because it knew you would come. It has been waiting for a chance to get revenge on everyone involved in the project. Tom finally spoke. Jake, we needed to study it. The military had to know what we were dealing with. These creatures could be a threat to all humanity, so you decided to torture one for 3 years instead of trying to communicate with it. Before Tom could answer, the lights went out completely. Emergency power did not come back on this time. In the total darkness, they heard that terrible sound again, the creature's voice calling to them from somewhere very close. But this time, Jake thought he heard something different in that alien voice. It was not just anger and hate. There was something else. Something that might have been recognition. The creature remembered him. But after 3 years of torture and rage, Jake did not know if that memory would save him or damn him. In the complete darkness, Jake could hear everyone breathing heavily. The creature's call echoed through the station again, closer this time. Tom fumbled for his flashlight, but before he could turn it on, a new sound filled the air. Metal scraping against metal coming from directly above them. Nobody move, Jake whispered. It is right here. The creature dropped through the ceiling tiles with deadly silence. In the darkness, they could only see its 6 glowing yellow eyes as it landed in the center of the room. For a long moment, nobody moved or spoke. Then Tom's flashlight beam cut. through the darkness, revealing the full horror of the creature standing among them. It was even larger than Jake remembered, its black armored skin scarred from years of experiments. But what struck him most were its eyes. They held intelligence, rage, and something else. Recognition. The creature looked directly at Jake, and for a moment, its aggressive posture relaxed slightly. Then its gaze shifted to Tom, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. A low growl rumbled from deep in its throat. "Tom," Jake said quietly, "I think you should start explaining what really happened here." Tom kept his weapon trained on the creature, but his hands were shaking. "We were following orders, Jake. The military needed to understand what we were dealing with. These creatures are natural-born killers." The creature's head snapped toward Tom when he spoke. It took one step forward, claws extending to their full length. The message was clear. It understood human speech, and it did not like what Tom was saying. "You tortured it for 3 years, Jake said, his voice filled with disgust. "The files show everything: electric shocks, isolation, sleep deprivation, psychological manipulation. You tried to break its mind." "We were trying to create a deterrent," Tom replied defensively. "If we could control one of these creatures, we could protect human colonies from others like it." Lisa had been working on her portable computer even in the darkness. Now she spoke up with horror in her voice. "Captain, I found more files. Project X9 was not just about studying one creature. They were planning to breed an army of them." Jake felt sick. Breed them. The files show they were trying to create a military unit of controlled alien predators. They wanted to use them as weapons against human enemies and other alien species. The creature made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was the most terrifying sound Jake had ever heard. It was the laugh of something that had been driven beyond sanity by cruelty and betrayal. Emma had been silent until now, but fear made her speak. "How many of these creatures are there?" Tom answered reluctantly. "Only one survived the breeding experiments. The others died during the genetic modification process." "You killed its family," Jake realized. "You captured it, tortured it, killed its offspring, and tried to turn it into a slave." The creature's eyes flared brighter, and it made a sound that was definitely words in its own language. Jake could not understand the meaning, but the emotion was universal: pain, loss, and uncontrollable rage. "It has been planning this for months," Lisa said, reading more files. "The research notes show it learned to manipulate the station's computer systems. It sent the distress signal itself." Jake looked at the creature with new understanding. "You wanted Tom to come here. You knew he would respond to a distress call from this station." The creature nodded once, a very human gesture that was somehow more terrifying coming from an alien predator. It had learned human behavior during its years of captivity, and now it was using that knowledge for revenge. "The other personnel files," Jake said to Lisa. "Who else was involved in the project?" Lisa's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Dr. Harrison was the lead researcher, but he died 2 years ago in an accident. Colonel Martinez was the military commander, but he retired and moved to Earth. Tom was the only one still on active duty in this sector." "So you are the only one left that it can reach," Jake said to Tom. Tom raised his weapon higher. "I am not going to apologize for doing my duty. These creatures are dangerous. Look what it did to Mike and Sarah." The creature's response was swift and brutal. It moved faster than the human eye could follow, striking Tom's weapon from his hands and knocking him to the ground. But instead of killing him immediately, it stopped and looked at Jake. Those glowing yellow eyes held a question. Jake realized the creature was asking for permission. It wanted Tom to suffer, but it was waiting to see what Jake would do. "Please," Jake said, not sure if he was talking to the creature or to Tom. "There has to be another way." The creature made a series of sounds that were definitely words. Jake had heard similar sounds 3 years ago on Kalara Prime when he had helped treat the alien's injuries. It was trying to communicate with him. David still looked confused and terrified. "Captain, what is it saying?" Jake listened carefully to the sounds. Some of them were almost familiar, like distant echoes of conversations from 3 years ago. I think it is trying to tell me something about the other creatures, about its family. Lisa pulled up another file on her computer. Captain, look at this. The breeding program files show they captured a mated pair and their offspring. The male died in the first month of experiments. The female and young died during genetic modification attempts. Jake felt his heart break as he understood. The creature standing before them was not just seeking revenge for its own suffering. It was mourning the loss of its entire family, killed by human arrogance and cruelty. You lost everything, Jake said to the creature. Your mate, your children, your freedom, and it was all because we were afraid of you. The creature made a soft sound that reminded Jake of crying. Even after 3 years of torture, it was still capable of grief. Tom tried to get up, but the creature placed one clawed hand on his chest, holding him down without breaking the skin. The message was clear. Tom was not going anywhere until the creature decided his fate. Jake, Tom said desperately, we can work together to get out of this. That thing is going to kill us all. But Jake was beginning to understand something important. The creature had had many chances to kill him, but it had not. It remembered the kindness he had shown years ago, and despite everything that had happened since then, that memory still mattered. The real question was whether mercy and understanding could overcome 3 years of justified rage. Jake slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small medical kit. The creature watched his every move with those glowing yellow eyes, ready to strike if Jake made any threatening motion. But Jake had no intention of fighting. Instead, he opened the medical kit and pulled out a small bandage. 3 years ago on Kalara Prime, he had used similar bandages to treat the creature's wounds. Now he held it up so the alien could see it clearly. The creature's head tilted to one side, a gesture that looked almost curious. Jake could see the exact moment when recognition flashed in its eyes. It remembered the bandages, the medical treatment, the gentle hands that had tried to heal instead of hurt. I remember you too, Jake said softly. You were dying when we found you. Your ship had crashed, and you were alone and scared. I wanted to help you get home, but they would not let me. The creature made a low sound, almost like a purr. It was the same sound it had made 3 years ago when Jake had given it food and water. Emma and David watched in amazement as the deadly predator that had killed 2 of their teammates began to calm down. Lisa continued working on her computer, but she kept glancing up to watch the incredible scene unfolding before them. Jake took a small step closer to the creature. I know you understand me. I know you remember. I tried to stop them from taking you, but I was just a young officer. I had no power to change anything. The creature's claws retracted slightly. It made a series of sounds that were definitely words in its own language. Jake listened carefully, trying to understand the meaning through tone and context. You are trying to tell me about your family, Jake said. About what they did to them. The creature nodded and made more sounds. This time, Jake caught something that sounded almost like his own name, but pronounced in the alien's language. Lisa looked up from her computer with excitement. Captain, I found something amazing. The early research files show that this creature learned to speak several human words. It was trying to communicate with the research staff, but they ignored its attempts. What words did it learn? Jake asked. Your name for one. The files show it kept repeating a sound that the researchers could not identify. But when I compare it to the recordings of your voice, it is clearly trying to say Jake. The creature made the sound again, and this time Jake heard it clearly. His name, spoken in an alien voice but with unmistakable affection and recognition. Tom was still on the ground with the creature's hand on his chest. Jake, you cannot trust this thing. It is a killer. Look what it did to Mike and Sarah. The creature's eyes flashed with anger when Tom spoke, and its claws extended again. But Jake held up his hand in a calming gesture, the same way he had done 3 years ago. You killed them because they were part of the team that came to hurt you, Jake said to the creature. But they did not know what this place was. They were innocent. The creature made a questioning sound, and Jake realized it was asking about the difference between guilty and innocent humans. It had learned to hate all humans because of the torture it had endured, but Jake's words were making it think. "Lisa, can you show me the personnel files for our crew?" Jake asked. Lisa pulled up the files on her portable screen. "What are you looking for, Captain?" "I want to show our friend here that not all humans are involved in the project that hurt it." Jake turned the computer screen toward the creature and pointed to each crew member's file. "Emma is a pilot. She flies ships and explores new worlds. She has never heard any alien life." He pointed to the next file. "David is a security officer, but he protects people. He has never been involved in weapons research." The creature leaned closer to look at the screen. Its intelligence was obvious, as it studied the information carefully. "Lisa is a scientist, but she studies planets and ecosystems. She works to understand life, not to hurt it." Jake continued. "Mike and Sarah were good people who were trying to help answer a distress call. They did not deserve to die." The creature made a sound that might have been regret. It looked at Jake with an expression that seemed almost apologetic. Jake pointed to Tom's file on the screen. "But this one was in charge of the project that hurt you and killed your family. He gave the orders that caused your pain." The creature's attention focused on Tom with renewed intensity. Its claws extended fully, and it leaned down until its face was inches from Tom's. Tom tried to speak, but terror had stolen his voice. The creature could easily kill him with one swipe of its claws, and everyone in the room knew it. "Please," Jake said to the creature. "I know you want justice for what was done to you, but killing Tom will not bring back your family. It will only make you the same kind of monster that humans thought you were." The creature straightened up and looked at Jake with surprise. It made several questioning sounds. "Yes, I called you a person, not a monster," Jake said. "Because that is what you are. You are intelligent, you feel love and loss, you remember kindness and cruelty. You are more human than some humans I have known." Lisa had been working on something while Jake talked to the creature. Now she looked up with excitement. "Captain, I found the linguistic analysis files. The researchers were able to translate some of the creature's language. Its name translates to something like Stormwalker." Jake looked at the creature with respect. "Stormwalker. That is a strong name. A proud name." Stormwalker made a sound that was definitely pleased. For the first time since they had encountered it, the creature looked almost relaxed. "Stormwalker," Jake continued, "I want to help you get justice for what was done to you and your family, but I need you to help me too. We need to work together to make sure this never happens again." Stormwalker tilted its head and made questioning sounds. It was clearly asking what Jake meant. "If you killed Tom and the rest of us, the military will only see it as proof that your kind is dangerous. They will hunt down others like you and do the same things to them. But if you help us expose what really happened here, we can stop future projects like this one." Stormwalker looked down at Tom, then back at Jake. The alien was clearly struggling with the decision. Revenge was simple and immediate. Justice was harder and required trust. Emma spoke up for the first time in several minutes. "Captain, are you sure we can trust it? I mean, trust Stormwalker?" Jake looked into Stormwalker's glowing yellow eyes and saw the same intelligence and dignity he had recognized 3 years ago. "Yes, I trust Stormwalker. The question is whether Stormwalker can trust us." Stormwalker made a series of sounds that seemed like a conversation with itself. It was clearly weighing its options and considering Jake's proposal. Finally, Stormwalker stepped back from Tom and made a sound that Jake interpreted as agreement. The creature was willing to try working together instead of simply taking revenge. But Jake could see that Stormwalker's trust was fragile and conditional. One wrong move, one sign of betrayal, and the deadly predator would return. The real test of their alliance was yet to come. Stormwalker stepped away from Tom and moved closer to the computer where Lisa was working. The creature studied the screen with obvious intelligence, pointing at certain files with one clawed finger. It was clear that Stormwalker wanted to show them something important. "It is trying to tell us about other files," Lisa said, following Stormwalker's gestures. "There are records here about more than just this station." Jake watched as Stormwalker navigated through the computer system with surprising skill. The creature had learned to use human technology during its years of captivity, and now it was using that knowledge to help them. "Look at this," Lisa said, as new files appeared on the screen. "There are 3 other research stations running similar projects. They are capturing aliens from different planets and studying them for military purposes." Stormwalker made urgent sounds and pointed to a specific file. The screen showed images of creatures that looked similar to Stormwalker, but smaller and with different coloring. "Those are from your homeworld," Jake realized. "They captured more of your people." Stormwalker nodded and made sounds that were clearly distressed. It was trying to tell them that its family was not the only one that had been destroyed by human cruelty. Tom finally found his voice. "Jake, you do not understand. These creatures are incredibly dangerous. If we do not study them and learn how to defend ourselves, they could wipe out human colonies." Stormwalker's eyes flashed with anger, and it made a sharp sound that was obviously disagreement. The alien pointed to itself, then to Jake, then made a gesture that looked like shaking. "Hands." "Stormwalker is saying that its people do not want to fight humans," Jake interpreted. "They want peace, but humans attacked first." Lisa found more files that supported this theory. "Captain, look at these contact reports. In every case, human military forces attacked alien ships first and asked questions later. We have been starting wars with peaceful species and then claiming self-defense." Emma had been quiet during most of the conversation, but now she spoke up. "What can we do to fix this? How do we stop the military from continuing these projects?" Jake looked at Stormwalker thoughtfully. "We need proof of what happened here, and we need Stormwalker to tell the story in its own words." Stormwalker made questioning sounds, and Jake tried to explain his plan using simple words and gestures. "We go back to human space. You come with us as a witness. You tell leaders what really happened here." The creature considered this carefully. It made several sounds that Jake interpreted as concerns about being captured again. "No cages," Jake promised. "No experiments. You travel as our guest and ally. If you want to leave at any time, we help you get home." Tom struggled to his feet, his face red with anger. "Jake, you cannot be serious. You want to bring that thing back to Earth? It will kill thousands of people. Stormwalker has had dozens of chances to kill all of us," Jake replied, "but it chose to spare the innocent and only target those responsible for its suffering. That shows more restraint and morality than most humans would show in the same situation." Stormwalker moved to another computer terminal and began accessing different files. Within minutes, it had pulled up detailed records of every person involved in Project X9, including their current locations and assignments. "It wants justice for all of them," Lisa said, reading over Stormwalker's shoulder. "Not just Tom." Jake studied the list. Most of the people were still alive and working on other military projects. "Stormwalker, if we help you get justice through proper legal channels, will you promise not to hunt down these people for revenge?" Stormwalker looked at the list for a long time before responding. Finally, it made sounds that Jake interpreted as conditional agreement. The creature would try the human legal system first, but if that system failed to provide justice, Stormwalker reserved the right to seek its own solutions. "Fair enough," Jake said, "but we do this together, as partners." Tom made one last, desperate attempt to regain control of the situation. He pulled a hidden weapon from his boot and aimed it at Stormwalker's back. "I am not going to let that monster destroy everything we have worked for." Stormwalker spun around with impossible speed, but instead of attacking Tom, it looked to Jake for guidance. The creature was keeping its promise to work together rather than simply taking revenge. Jake stepped between Tom and Stormwalker. "Tom, put the weapon down. This is over." "You're making a mistake, Jake. When the military finds out what you have done, they will court-martial you and execute that creature." "Maybe," Jake said calmly, "but at least I will be able to look at myself in the mirror knowing I did the right thing." Emma moved behind Tom and carefully took the weapon from his hands while he was focused on Jake. David helped her secure Tom's other weapons, while Stormwalker watched approvingly. Lisa had been copying files from the computer system onto portable storage devices. "Captain, I have downloaded everything. Medical records, experiment logs, personnel files, and video evidence. This should be enough to expose the entire program. Jake turned to Stormwalker. Are you ready to come with us? To help us make sure this never happens to your people or any other species again? Stormwalker made a sound that was clearly affirmative. Then the creature did something unexpected. It reached out with one clawed hand and gently touched Jake's shoulder. The gesture was unmistakably one of friendship and trust. The journey back to human space took 2 weeks. During that time, Jake worked with Stormwalker to establish better communication. The creature was incredibly intelligent and learned new human words quickly. By the end of the trip, Stormwalker could speak simple sentences in English. Tom remained confined to quarters for the entire journey. He refused to speak to anyone and spent his time writing reports that he claimed would prove Jake was a traitor to humanity. When they arrived at Earth, Jake requested an immediate meeting with the highest levels of military and civilian leadership. The presence of Stormwalker caused panic and confusion, but Jake's reputation and the evidence they carried eventually got them a hearing. The trial that followed made history. Stormwalker testified about the torture and murder of its family, speaking in broken but clear English. The evidence Lisa had gathered proved that Project X9 and similar programs had violated numerous laws and treaties. Public opinion turned strongly against the military programs once the full extent of the cruelty became known. Stormwalker became a symbol of the need for better relations between humans and alien species. Tom was found guilty of war crimes and sentenced to life in prison. Most of the other personnel involved in the projects received similar sentences. The illegal research programs were shut down permanently. Jake was initially charged with treason for bringing an alien to Earth without authorization, but the charges were dropped when it became clear that his actions had prevented a potential war between humans and Stormwalker's people. 6 months after the trial, Jake was given command of the first official diplomatic mission to Kalara Prime. Stormwalker served as cultural advisor and translator, helping to establish peaceful relations between the two species. On the day they departed for Kalara Prime, Jake and Stormwalker stood together on the bridge of their new ship. The creature had grown stronger and healthier since leaving the research station, and its eyes now held hope instead of hate. "Thank you," Stormwalker said in careful English. "You remember kindness when others forget." Jake smiled. "Your people have a saying that Lisa translated for me. Something about how a single seed of compassion can grow into a forest of understanding." Stormwalker made the sound that Jake had learned was alien laughter. "Humans also have wisdom. Sometimes they just need to remember it." As their ship headed toward Kalara Prime, Jake reflected on everything that had happened. Humanity's greatest strength was not superior weapons or technology. It was the ability to recognize when they were wrong and work to make things right. The alliance between humans and Stormwalker's people became the foundation for peaceful contact with dozens of other alien species. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and now humanity would explore it as friends rather than conquerors. Stormwalker had taught them that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to show mercy and the courage to seek understanding across the vast differences between species. The predator that had once snarled at all humans now stood as proof that even the deepest wounds could heal when kindness was met with kindness and justice was pursued with wisdom, rather than vengeance.